Hello guys, it's Joey and you're welcome back to my channel. I'm back again. Well, today I have something very interesting for you guys, and it's a very interesting topic. And today I'm going to talk about 9 cars that should have never ever left their production factory. I mean, never ever. Design may be subjective, but when it comes to a time for a consumer to splash tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions on a car, there's only one main thing they look for, and that's beauty. And when we talk about beauty, we're talking about the proper and necessary attention you get when you buy a car. But for some companies, some auto companies, then they really made some huge mistakes back then, and some are even still making these mistakes. And most of these mistakes even cost most auto companies to file for bankruptcy and all that. And it was very bad. It was very, very bad back then. So now let's talk about these night cars. Let's talk about these night cars that are so ugly looking that they should have never ever left their production factory. So for number one, we have the Pontiac Aztec. I mean, this car was made from 2001 to 2005. I have a lot to say about this car. I mean, it's so bad and ugly looking. I mean, I have lots of adjectives to describe this car. It's so bad. This minivan, it had this crossover look back then, and it's one of the worst creations ever made by man. It is powerfully ugly. I mean, it's powerfully ugly. If I should start describing this car, I'm not sure I'm going to finish now. It started back then in the Breaking Bad series, and it was chosen to depict lameness and the pathetic side of Heisenberg. And imagine a car being used to depict such a thing. That should tell you how bad and boring such a thing is. And I'm low key sure Heisenberg hated driving the car in that series. And there's one weird thing about this car right now. Let me give you one very weird fact. If you're looking to purchase this car in this present day, this current age, you can get it for as much as $5,995. I mean, that's way too much for this car. Don't tell anyone, but it's so disappointing for me. Back then, it had an MSRP of $24,443. I mean, hmm, I'll just keep quiet about this. For number two, we have the Ford Edsel, which was produced from 1958 to 1960. I mean, if you ask me, this car wasn't all that bad looking if you compare it to the Impala, because back then they all had this regal look when it comes to these cars. But this particular Ford Edsel, or let's say the Ford SL, it was Ford's legendary flop back in the 50s. New York Times even described it as the ugly duckling that never saw its one face. Can you imagine people describing a car you invested 250 million to produce? I mean, you spent $250 million to produce a car, only for someone to tell you the car looks like an ugly duckling that never saw its one face. That was quite heartbreaking. It was a luxury cruiser back then, and one thing customers hated about this Edsel was its grill. Some even described it as a toilet seat. That should tell you how bad it was. So for number three, we have the Chrysler PC Cruiser, one of the most popular ugly cars in the world. I mean, the car is just ugly. Made from 2001 to 2010. When you hear this car's name, I'm sure you will get mad too. Because me, if I hear this car's name, I just get mad. Because me, this is how I'll describe this car. I'll tell you, if you asked a kid back then to draw a car that could actually be used in water, this is what a kid would draw. No offense, but this car, nah, it's not it. This is not it. It's got, it hasn't got the proper adjectives to describe it. The girl had a nasty look. The haunches and the fender and headlights, they were so horrible looking. It's certainly not one of Chrysler's proudest creations ever. Nah. It's even weird we even have people still driving this car in this present age. It's so bad looking. So for the number four, we have the Nissan Cube. This car was made from 2009 to 2014. Another weird car. I mean, this car was even so bad looking that even thinking of what to compare it to, I don't think I'd get something to compare it to because I don't even know what to compare this car's aerodynamics to. This car, it's a very big problem. I don't know who designed this car, and whoever designed this car was very lazy when designing this car because Nissan even admitted that the design was built on the idea of a bulldog in sunglasses. How weird is that? If it's a bulldog wearing sunglasses, then I'm sure Nissan can also show us which part of the car should be wearing the sunglasses because I actually don't see which part of the car would be based on that design. Because I'm actually looking for the sunglasses part. It's this guy is just so bad looking. So for number five, we have the Pontiac Transport. Hmm. Here we have Pontiac coming in again for the second time. My goodness, just look at this. This car was made from 1990 to 1996. It was even before the Aztec was made. Can you imagine? They had years to correct their mistakes and they still decided to come up with the Aztec. I mean, this car was just so bad looking. And one weird thing about this car is when they made it, they thought they used a futuristic styling on this car. Can you imagine? When it comes to Pontiac and their ugly cars, I don't think I'd actually allow myself to talk or speak much about it because I don't think it would be advisable for me. So let's go on to number six. For number six, we have the Vanguard City Car. It was made from 1974 to 1977. When you look at this thing, you think someone stole it from an amusement park ride. No offense. No offense. One weird fact about this triangular contraption is that it was an electric car. Yes, it was. It was an electric car, and it was built back then to appeal consumers during the American oil crisis in the mid 70s. And this car also produced a top speed of 25 mph. I mean, look at this thing. You don't expect it to even go much faster than that. And it also had a 40-mile range. And you know what even made it amazingly weird? 4,400 of these little contraptions were sold. Imagine someone walking up to your garage and you want to show them your new car you got, and then you show them this. I wonder if you actually feel proud or you just want to show off something you just felt like wasting money on, because 4,400 of them really got sold. This should be something that you shouldn't be proud to show off because it has no reselling value. It's just something that has some bad history around it. So for me, it's a no-no. So for number seven, we have the Subaru Bratz. This car was made from 1978 to 1994. You see, back then, pickups were widely used, and Subaru also got the idea to make a station wagon type of vehicle and hack off the end of the car to make it look like a pickup car truck. I mean, that even sounds so weird. When they made a car, the results were just so embarrassing. And the Bratz actually means by drive recreational all terrain transporter. And I don't even know how they kept making this car till up to 1994. I mean, they started production in 1978 and they maintained it through to 1994. I'm wondering the number of people that were actually purchasing this thing. And this car also had a two rear facing jump seats. And this feature, or let's say the seating style of this Subaru, helped them to actually evade taxes on important pickup trucks back then. So for number eight, we have the Nissan Escargot. I mean, this car is very ugly. Escargot, made by Nissan. As if the Nissan Note wasn't something they could have corrected by looking at the Escargot, because the Escargot was very one weird looking car. This car would rival the Aztec and the Multiplier in an ugly car contest. Actually, it really would. Just look at how it looks like. It even looks like a snail. No wonder it's called Escargot. And what's snail in French? Yeah, that's it. You got that. You got that. That's it. I don't really have much to say about the Nissan Escargot. It's so weird looking. I don't even know how someone would actually use this car. And now for the best ugly looking car of all time, we have the Fiat Multiplayer. I mean, if I start to describe this thing, I'm not sure I'd finish today because everyone hates this car. I mean, just the sight of this car would make you angry. If you are sad, you get sadder. If you're angry, you get angrier. I mean, you actually see this car and feel like throwing rocks at it. I mean, it was just so bad looking. Everyone has a bad review about this car. It was just so bad looking. It was made from 1998 to 2004. I'm even surprised it could be made for that long because, nah, the exterior design about this car was just so poor. I mean, to rate this car out of 1,000 or out of 100, actually give it 0.5. That would be for the exterior. But if it comes to the practicality of this car, I mean, it was top notch. It had plenty of headroom and plenty of space for passengers or cargo. That's the only good thing you can actually talk about this car. But when it comes to the bad sides, it has a lot. It's so ugly that even the Aztec, the Pontiac Aztec, will be so shy to even park next to it. You let me stop there because if I continue, I'd say some things that won't be good for me. So let me just end there. I think that would be very good. That would be very good for me to end. So, guys, thank you for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like, comment, and subscribe. And please share this video for me. I beg you. Thank you. See you next time.